What's going on, Disney fans? It's Disney Dan here with another episode of DIStory, a Disney history lesson. The most iconic piece of any Disney theme park is its castle, and with 6 magical kingdoms built over the past 60 years, let's take a look back now at how these castles evolved from a simple twinkle in Walt's eye to an architectural masterpiece that towers over the landscape visible from miles away. The beginning of Disney theme park castles actually started on paper when Walt locked himself away for an entire weekend with legendary artist Herb Ryman in 1953 in what is now known as the Lost Weekend, which is a pretty awesome story which we'll cover probably later in this Disney history series. Walt described in painstaking detail every aspect of the park and attractions, which Herb then visualized and brought to life on paper. While the castle's visualization and the early concept art for Disneyland is far from what was eventually built, the idea of small worlds and lands surrounding a tall magical castle was concreted forever. Construction for the first Disney castle began over a year before the California park's opening in 1955. The castle towered an impressive 77 feet high, featured tall towers, spires of gold, and an actual functional drawbridge built over a full, beautiful moat. Built in a theme park for a theme park, this castle is only one by name. The construction is actually mostly of wood and concrete with a faux stone exterior. This is the first building in Disney parks that would utilize the idea of forced perspective, a unique building technique that gives guests the illusion of greater height by shrinking features of the castle the higher away from the ground they are. While this castle looks impressively tall, it's actually only a few feet taller than the White House in Washington, D.C. Modeled after real European castles, it would eventually be named Sleeping Beauty's Castle, despite being built close to 5 years before the animated film was even released. While the final film's castle might not closely resemble the one built in the park, the interior of the castle would eventually be fitted with a Sleeping Beauty walkthrough diorama with key moments from the story. Jumping forward some 50 years to the opening of Hong Kong Disneyland, you can see the classic Sleeping Beauty castle almost entirely recreated in the original vision of Walt. But despite looking like its clone, the building has some minor and major differences that make it stand out. Most notably in the evolution of the design is the color scheme, painted to be more of a realistic castle grounded in authentic stone colors versus the bright over-the-top fairy tale cartoon-like colors used in the California castle. The other major difference is the castle embellishments built in to accommodate the large-scale evening fireworks shows, something that wasn't even considered when this castle was originally built in California. As many castles had to evolve and be retrofitted to accommodate huge pyrotechnic displays, the team thought ahead in designing this modern take on the classic castle. These large walls actually make up the front side of the Fantasyland dark ride buildings. While those first 2 castles are supposed to be Sleeping Beauties, they don't actually look much like the one that was ultimately animated in the 1959 film. But Paris went about correcting that in the Euro Disneyland construction of 1992. The size more than doubling its original at 172 incredible feet tall, the castle would feature the largest animatronic Disney had ever built at the time, and would mimic the design of the animated classic counterpart significantly better than the original Disneyland castle. Le Château de la Belle et Bois de Mont, which I know I'm pronouncing wrong, was the mindchild of Imagineer Tom Morris, who led the team as they attempted to avoid building yet another castle in a country that was packed with the real thing. The lovely design of this castle looks like it was pulled right off the screen of the Sleeping Beauty film, which is quite impressive, including the lifting rolling hills and the iconic square trees, which are my absolute favorite. One of my favorite trees in all of Disney parks. The castle also features a large basement that houses a massive sleeping dragon animatronic. The first castle built in to utilize an under the castle space for an attraction, this dragon would occasionally wake up for guests, growling and blowing smoke. Now that we've got all the way through the Sleeping Beauties, let's jump back to 1971 to take a look at Disney World's massive and iconic Cinderella Castle, the second castle to be built for Disney theme parks. Approximately 189 feet tall, just 1 foot short of requiring a large red flashing light per the FAA, it came close to tripling the height of the Sleeping Beauty Castle in Anaheim. Drawing on inspiration from Cinderella's real castle from the animated film, Herb Ryman concept art showed a towering structure that could be seen across most of Disney's Florida property. It would ultimately serve as an icon for all of Disney across many of its projects and businesses. The construction took close to 18 months and was built to withstand strong hurricane winds up to 110 miles per hour. Despite legend, the castle cannot be taken apart during storms to prevent damage, but thanks to its being built of mostly fiberglass and concrete, the castle is mostly immune to Mother Nature because it is built like a real impenetrable fortress. The tower features 27 individually numbered spires, taking advantage of forced perspective to make them feel much taller, and is surrounded by a huge 3+ million gallon moat. The ample space of the new park also allowed for a large stage to be built in front of the castle's inoperable drawbridge, allowing for great stage shows. Originally, the castle was intended to feature a suite for the Disney family, but after Walt's death, it was abandoned, only to be repurposed for many things over the years. It was finally turned back into a private suite and used for Disney's Year of a Million Dreams giveaway. The Cinderella Royal Table restaurant inside the castle gives guests a chance to experience eating like royalty, and the passage through the center of the castle is lined with gorgeous tile mosaics retelling Cinderella's story. Not much evolution was had during the construction of Tokyo Disneyland's Cinderella Castle in 1983, with some extremely minor color changes and a unique Cinderella storytelling walkthrough attraction in space. The castle itself looked like it was near duplicated perfectly from the Florida location and dropped into Tokyo. The surrounding area, though, is a bit different, and the castle itself stands a bit more alone, not connected in any of the surrounding buildings, with a front courtyard that features way less trees and 4 individual towers used for shows during firework displays. Using the great modern building technologies and techniques that we know today, the Disneyland Shanghai Enchanted Storybook Castle is a true sight to behold. Fitted with massive attractions including a full boat ride, restaurant, and entertainment stages, the massive castle towers at an impressive 197 feet tall. This castle is unique from all others in that it isn't specifically inspired by any one princess, instead it honors all the princesses on one beautiful structure. The design and build is a true mashup of previous Disney castles with all new unique designs inspired by Chinese culture. From golden peonies, clouds, and stars, subtle elements of Disney's partnership with China can be found almost anywhere you look. The Chinese zodiac is also in full display with this castle's design, including beautiful jade gargoyles and a wall of Disney characters representing each of the 12 animals on the zodiac. It is clear that Imagineers took time and care to incorporate Chinese culture into this build. The castle isn't just surrounded by its moat, it's incorporated in it as a ride that weaves through the basement, housing the titular grotto in the Voyage of the Crystal Grotto ride. So there's a look at all 6 of the main castles in the Disney theme park resorts and their evolution and builds. I was absolutely fascinated by these, and I barely scratched the surface, and what we're going to end up doing is doing some featured videos on each of the castles individually, but I thought it'd be fun to see the evolution of the castles as they stood over the past 60 years. Now, I know these aren't the only castles in the Disney parks. In fact, there are several other castles like the Beast Castle above the Be Our Guest restaurant and Prince Eric's Castle outside of the Journey of the Little Mermaid ride. They're all very cool and unique and special, and I really love them, but I wanted to just feature the main 6 castles in the 6 Disney resorts. So, as always, thanks so much for watching these videos. I really appreciate your support. Leave me a comment and let me know which of these castles is your favorite, which ones you visited, what are the features of the castles you really like, and then also let me know what other Disney history lessons you want me to do some research on and present to you guys. Really appreciate everything. Please subscribe if you have not already, and as always, you rock. Thanks, guys.